to work.
I love working here.
I feel very blessed.
I love it here.
I look forward to coming to work every day, being a part of this team.
Like a family away from home.
Where everyone feels like everybody knows their name.
A city that supports you, we see that with our benefits.
A pension, vacation days, job security.
Being able to be heard.
We feel valued, we feel respected.
Lee Summit is a very progressive city.
It's growing, it's thriving.
We have this drive towards not just doing a job, but doing it with a spirit of excellence.
I had the opportunity to continue to grow, regardless of 30 plus years doing this kind of work.
It's more than just dollars and cents.
We're here really to give back.
Providing a service to better a community.
To go out and serve people.
To be a part of something bigger than yourself. If I would have known what I know now, years ago, I would have been here much sooner.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Laura, and here's your flash briefing for the week of December 1st. City Council meet for regular session Tuesday night at 6 in council chambers in City Hall. Meetings are open to the public or watched live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Stay weather aware this week by signing up for LS Aware, the city's free mass notification system. It can alert residents about a variety of events, ranging from severe weather and other emergencies to more routine announcements, such as road closures and water utility maintenance. Messages will be sent to residents on their preferred communication device. You choose how you want to be notified. Learn more at lsaware.net. A reminder to Jackson County taxpayers, Lee Summit City Hall is no longer able to process tax payments, print receipts, or create waivers. Taxpayers are advised to visit a Jackson County location or pay online at jacksongov.org. Lee Summit Arts and Culture is now accepting applications for the 2026 Downtown Sculpture Walk, a temporary outdoor public art exhibit. Sculptures must be available for display between May 2026 through mid-May 2027. The submission deadline is January 5th. Find the application on the city's website. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Keeping our city beautiful is a collaborative effort for all citizens. The City of Lee Summit supports these efforts with a set of guidelines or ordinances, and the city's neighborhood services team helps put those guidelines into practice. These guidelines ensure grass stays trimmed, fences are maintained, home exteriors are kept up, and much more. We can all help out by first making sure our property meets these guidelines. If you notice a potential violation on a neighbor's property, first check the guidelines on the city's website. If it is a violation, the next step is to communicate with your neighbor directly. If that is not possible, or if the problem persists, it can be reported through LS Connect. LS Connect is an online platform for submitting issues to the city. You can access it on the city website or by downloading the app through your mobile device's app store. Once you submit an issue, it is reviewed by the Neighborhood Services team. A Neighborhood Services officer will then visit the site. For any violations found, the Neighborhood Services officer will leave a notice and speak with the property owner if possible. The officer's goal is to help the property owner solve or abate the problem as quickly as possible. After a 10-day period, the officer will inspect the site to see if the issue has been abated. Normally, by this point, the issue has been resolved. If not, depending on the type of issue, an extension could be granted, or the city might fix the problem at the owner's expense. In rare cases, if all other measures have been applied, the issue will be resolved in the municipal court. Neighborhood Services officers work hard to resolve problems quickly and positively. They are here to support the community as we work together to keep our city beautiful.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either a bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words: mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914, Armstrong.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
I'm like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network, who's close to you. If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband has...
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. Say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped me get to where I am today. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. We want to help, and that's what we love to do.
So I had a client, we got a call, she had some suicidal ideations, and she really felt that she had nobody. And and getting to know her story and getting to know who comes around and sees you, well, then we found a support person, and they responded immediately, and we made a plan. I called back and checked on her in an hour, and then I checked on her in 2 hours. We were able to get her into the additional services to where she talks to someone every week or more. I just took a person that really just thought they had nobody and nobody would show up for them, and show them you do. And you'll be amazed who is in your corner if you just simply say, I need a little help.
Councilmember Hodges.
Thank you. I love where you guys are coming from. You're local and you're all kind of coming together. But where I'm struggling with from the last time that we talked about this, I think it was maybe October.
I actually grew up in my district. We moved here my sophomore year in high school. My parents still live in the same house, and I just went through high school here and then have stayed in Lee Summit ever since. The neighborhood that my parents live in is Canterbury. My favorite thing, and I still do to this day, is I love to go running. They have the best sidewalks. I feel like you can go for days. So now I still get to do that. Since I live not too far from them, I get to use those same routes that I took during high school, and it's just fun. All right, let's see it, Jess. Come on. We're a big soccer family. I love sports, I love to watch sports, and it's even more fun to watch sports when my kids are in it. I coach my middle daughter Josie's team. I have since kindergarten. We do the basketball, we do softball, we're gonna do volleyball. And it's just so much fun. Something that I would like to accomplish while on city council is to get more family activities here. I don't want to have to be driving my family to, say, the Kansas side or any other city but my own. And I want to be able to invest in our city and make family memories in our city.
Open the public hearing on the matter of K1 Speed, Die Ventures,
Crack Shack, Blue Jeans Golf,
Councilmember Hodges.
I just want to say thank you for bringing this to Lee Summit. I grew up at this. My grandpa would take us there, so I'm excited that now I can take my kids there.
Bill number 23-0, pre-construction services for the downtown Market Plaza project.
I'm just as excited as everybody else about the downtown marketplace. I'm extremely excited about the community that it's going to bring, bringing more family things to do to the city and right in the heart of it.
When you presented the numbers, the first time you came to us, it was 25.5%, and then
you know, people were like, oh, you know, being on council, it's not a lot of work, not a lot of... I think it was a bit of a surprise when there's so much info that you realize you just don't know. Even something as simple as sidewalks. It's like you don't realize how much goes into something like that. After a couple months, I'm like, okay, I'm finally, you know, catching the groove of how things work, learning new things, but also feel like I've got some things under my belt as well. It's been a great experience so far.
Okay, welcome everyone. Would you please rise for the invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and the chance to come together in service. May our hearts be open, our minds be clear, and our words be thoughtful as we work for the good of our city. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, again, welcome everyone. I'm calling to order the City of Lee Summit regular session number 56 as amended. Could I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Councilmember Hodges.
Here.
Councilmember Rader.
Present.
Councilmember Funk.
Present.
Councilmember Lovell.
Here.
Councilmember Shields.
Here.
Councilmember Pryor.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Here.
Mayor Baird.
Here. All right, first thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion to adopt the agenda by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember Pryor? Oh, you already... I need one more vote, someone.
Try using your cursor.
Okay, all votes are in. Please record the vote. Okay, that agenda is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Next, I have approval of the consent agenda. Have a motion to adopt the consent agenda by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Pryor. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's also adopted unanimously. Thank you. That takes us to Council Roundtable. These are usually items of general interest, things going on in the community or your district. Goodness, are you going to survive all the holiday parties coming up this month? Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. Councilmember Shields lost her voice, so she gave me a list of things. The Farmers Market Holiday Mart, 10 a.m. on Saturday, and selfies with Santa. So this is actually what my kids call the real Santa, because he's the one that doesn't wear a fake beard, but he's at the Historic Museum? The History Museum? Whatever that thing is called, in downtown by the train station. He's there on Saturdays, and he's the good one. So, and I think that's it. Yep, all right, and it's free to do your pictures you can donate if you want, but, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we're going to go into I believe we have a public hearing to start us off. Like usual, yes, we do. This is, I'm going to close the regular session and open the public hearing in the matter of agenda item 4A, petition for removal of real property from the 291 South Regional CID. City of Lee Summit is the applicant. Would all those wishing to speak to this matter please rise to be sworn in by the city clerk? Mr. Bushek.
Good evening, David Bushek, Chief Counsel of Economic Development and Planning. I would like to start by entering into the record Exhibits 1 through 5 as they appear in the exhibit list in your packet.
Please enter into the record Exhibits 1 through 5.
This is a public hearing to consider removal of property from the 291 South Regional Community Improvement District. The petition has been filed with the city clerk to remove the property that I'll show you here in a minute on the maps. Under Section 67.1441 of the Missouri statutes, the standard that applies in this situation is whether the district, when we're considering the removal of property, can the district, the CID, meet its obligations without the revenues that are generated by the property that's proposed to be removed. The Community Improvement District has already passed a resolution on November 13th Resolution 2025-11 of the CID that consented to the removal of this property. And they consented primarily because the district has not issued any debt obligations, and this is only a pay-as-you-go arrangement, and the developer is also in agreement with the removal of this property. The developer has representation on that CID, and so that is part of the petition that's in the meeting packet. So looking at the map then, the first map we start with, this is the boundaries of the existing CID, and our focus is on the western arm. So in the next few maps, if you focus on this point right about here where I'm showing with the mouse, this is about where the line will end. So we're focusing on removal of the western arm. The second map, which is also part of the petition, this shows the property to be removed. So that's the line that's essentially equivalent to the western boundary of the Oldham Village project down here. And so we'd be removing all of the right-of-way property and the Hy-Vee property from the district. In this map, this map shows the boundaries of the district if you approve the petition to remove the property. So the boundaries would stop basically at the western boundary of the existing Oldham Village project, but all of the remaining property that's already in the district would remain in the district. The purpose of the public hearing is to allow the public to provide any comments, and between my testimony here and the documents that are in your meeting packet, we have a sufficient record to move forward with this request. Next on the agenda is an ordinance, and if you approve that, the property would be removed, and that would become final next week if you remove that, and we would take steps moving forward to deal with the underlying litigation that has led to this public hearing. That concludes my comments, and I'd be happy to answer questions or listen to your discussion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for staff or Mr. Bushek? Okay. Is there anyone here tonight that wishes to speak in favor or against this application? Please come forward. All right. Is there any additional questions from the council? Mr. Bushek, any further comment?
No.
Thank you. Hearing no further testimony, I'm closing the public hearing and reopening the regular session. Is there any council discussion on this application? Okay, seeing no further comments or questions, Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read Bill number 25-232?
Thank you, Mayor. I move Bill number 25-232, an ordinance approving the petition for removal of real property from the 291 South Regional Community Improvement District. Be second read.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to move to second reading. Bill number 25-232 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record your vote. It does go to second reading unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, 5A, is a continued discussion on the contracted residential solid waste services. So we had quite a meeting a couple of weeks ago, a packed house full of concerned citizens, had a lot of public comments that night. We then discussed the timeline or the process, which included a timeline, and I know that following that meeting, there just was a lot of engagement with council, a lot of engagement online and in the community. And I think it deserves further discussion because enough citizens have concerns about this that we need to consider maybe other options, such as taking this to the citizens for a vote and what that might look like, because we actually have not discussed that. So that was not a topic of conversation. So I put this back on the agenda and want to see what council thinks about putting this into that situation and talking through what that timeline and process would look like. So, Councilmember Pryor, I know that you've been super engaged, so can you start us off?
Of course. So this is kind of something that I just kind of wrote one night when I was thinking about it, and this is kind of my thoughts on all of this. I wanted to share where I've landed after spending the past week talking to a wide range of constituents about the single hauler, and this was a couple weeks ago when I wrote this, but about the single hauler transition. There are passionate, thoughtful voices on both sides of the issue, and it's clear that many residents want to be a part of this decision. Because of that, I believe the fairest and most transparent path forward is to continue moving through the RFP process as planned, gather pricing, compare options, and I know that we can't identify a company necessarily to go on the ballot, because then that would lock us into that specific contract with the company, if that's what they vote on, correct? But I do think it's important that we continue through the RFP process so when people vote on it, they can make a fully informed vote on wherever they land. Because I think it's so important to be open and transparent and give the voters the most information that we possibly can and let them make their decisions. But once we have all that information, I think this decision should ultimately be placed on the ballot for the voters to decide. This approach allows us the due diligence residents expect, while also ensuring every Lee Summit resident has an opportunity to have their voices heard. So I don't know, I just feel like, and I know I've talked to several other council members, and I just believe the best path forward is placing it on the ballot, and letting the voters ultimately decide, while also equipping them with all of the accurate information and not just stuff they're reading on social media. So if that's possible.
Right. I think there'll be, a few things to discuss tonight, but one thing you're bringing up is being able to provide some more certainty or more accuracy as to what citizens are voting on. So that is something that we'll need to discuss a little bit more. But I think that framed kind of this conversation really well. So are you good? Can I go to another council member? And
yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I can come back to you. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Thanks, Mayor. I won't repeat a lot of what's been said by Councilmember Pryor because I tend to agree with almost everything she said. And I stated this a couple weeks ago in front of the large group of citizens that were in this room, that our purpose up here is to do what's in the best interest of the entire city, period. And if people feel that strong about this particular situation, then it seems like there's very boisterous opinions on both sides of the issue, then I'm in favor of going to the taxpayers and let them decide. I think that would be the best path forward for our community. So, and we can sort out many of the details, and so that our citizens do make an informed decision when they go to the polls. So, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Funk.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Councilman Pryor said it all. I would just want to understand from a legality purpose, if we can proceed, and Mr. Park may be able to help, or legal, that we can proceed to have the full packet available for the citizens all the way down to this is what it would look like. This is the scope of work. This is what's going to be incumbent into the contract, and this is how much it's going to cost, so that they specifically know what they are getting when they're voting.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So looks like we're already starting to trend here with the RFP wanting to provide clarity on that. I think I wrote down, before the meeting, I wrote down timeline and process, which, basically are together, but and then how would we move forward with an RFP or not? So I think I've got one more council member, but we need to start talking to legal about that if that is a possibility, and then how do we move this forward in this direction as far as intent? So let me go to Councilmember Rader. Open that up to her.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so I liked what you said just now, because that was what I was thinking. Is it it necessary for us to continue on with the RFP? Or is that something that we should do so that we have, when our citizens get to vote on this, they have all the information they need? Because I know it's been indicated a few times during the presentations that cost was certainly something that people were looking at, that, they considered that if they decided they wanted to do it, or, well, they didn't get to decide, but that was something that was important to them, was cost. So, I'm good either way with just taking it to the voter, but I'm also open to whatever everybody thinks about going ahead to see what the cost would be. I guess my question on that would be, what kind of work would have to be done in order to get there? Is it going to be labor intensive, or is it worth the time and effort to do that, money? So I guess I'm just kind of posing those thoughts as well. Thank you.
Let me open this up before we go to legal and start talking about this, because I know that's where we're headed. Let me ask one other thing, because it'll also affect the conversation, which is if we as a council wanted to do this, as in put this in front of the voters, when would that need to be? Because April is right around the corner, to be quite honest, and a lot would have to happen. A lot of education would have to happen. We don't usually just throw things on the ballot really quickly like that. So I think that we need to consider timeline. So you've got April, August, and November elections. Based on what we talk about there, that also will affect, I think, I'm just trying to think through, when we talk about doing an RFP, if you do an RFP today, it depends on when the election is, and how can we navigate that, Mr. Head? That's where I'm headed with this. I've got a few other council members that want to chime in first. I'm going to let them, and then that way you can kind of hear everybody's thoughts first. So, Councilmember Rader, are you good? All right, thank you. Councilmember Hodges?
Thank you. Just want to make a quick statement. I completely agree with that. I think that we should go to the voters. Anything that's going to affect all of them, I think they should have a voice in it. And I know you're not necessarily asking our opinion on when to do the election, but I feel like whatever election brings in the most voter turnout, I think would be the most wisest, because then we'll get the most community feedback, and I think that would be best.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right. Probably in November would be the most. Thank you. Councilmember Funk?
Thank you, Mayor. I am chiming in for Councilmember Pryor because her computer shut down, so.
My computer's
Councilmember Pryor.
officially shutting
Yes.
down. Okay. So I have given this a lot of thought. I think the November, like Councilmember Hodges has stated, the November election, I feel like would be the best election to put it on, just because that does bring out so many people. So that's going to give us the best gauge on what people truly want in our city. I don't know. So I guess my question is, and I do have concerns too, like, going through the RFP process now, would it still be the same prices in November? I don't know. I guess there are a lot of legality questions, but is it even something, is that doable to give them like a price range? Or I know the presentation last week, we were presented with the sheet that basically said, here's what the average HOA is paying, here's, is that something we could like take an average? I don't know. I just don't know what it exactly would look like. I just think it's super important that it does get put on the ballot. And then, yeah, that's just.
Okay, so one more person, and then I'm going to go to Mr. Head. So you're saying it'd be nice if it was accurate, if we can continue with the bids, or is it possible to use the estimates? And when we go to the voters, I don't know the answer to that. I can probably guess what Mr. Head will say, but let me go to Councilmember Shields before I go to Mr. Head.
Okay, I was going to say.
You still have the floor.
Well, so I was also going to say, like, as far as like the cost, I feel like we were going to go through the RFP process anyway, and then possibly vote no or yes as a council anyway. So I don't know that it would be. I don't know that the cost doing that or labor intensive would be much more of a factor than having just council vote on it versus putting it out in front of everyone. I mean, I guess the cost comes from maybe paying to have it put on the ballot, but I feel like that's a worthwhile cost so everyone can weigh in, so, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilmember Shields, are you going to have Councilmember Carlisle read your comments? Councilmember Shields, reminder, everybody, she lost her voice, but she's brave enough to be here to
Thank
get
you.
to the
So
meeting.
for Councilmember Shields, and please correct me if I misinterpret, she says, yes, she wants to send it to the voters. That's what's preferred. She would like to have a dollar amount and the service level, so continue through the RFP process. She thinks April's too soon for a ballot. August already has a different issue on it, so November is preferred for a ballot.
Well, that's the most concise Councilmember Shields has ever been. I'm sorry. She's always got lots of details, so. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Shields and Carlisle. Mr. Head, why don't you talk us through this, because you can kind of hear some general consensus up here as to the direction we'd like to go. What roadblocks do we have?
So let's start with timing of elections. So there are two dates you have to be aware of whenever you're talking about an election and passing an ordinance related to the election. The first is the election date, and the second date is the certification date, the ballot certification date. So the final date for certification of the April ballot is the end of January. It's usually around the 24th or 26th. I don't remember off the top of my head. August, same thing. The election date, the first Tuesday in August. The final certification date is the very end of May. November, that backs up to the end of August. So those are deadlines for those various election dates. That being said, you can place an item for any ballot that you wish to, really at any point. So there would be nothing to prohibit the council in the next month or so, or 2 months, or whenever you wanted to do it, passing an ordinance for, say, a November, a year from now ballot. There would be no issue that would prohibit you from doing that. We do have a little bit of concern about this idea of going ahead and proceeding forward with the RFP, because when you get those responses, in every other instance where we do an RFP followed by a response, that response is a bid, essentially. It is a binding proposal from that service provider, whatever kind of service we're hiring, architects, engineers, whatever it is, that is a binding proposal. Normally, those are good for like 90 days or 60 days. In this instance, you're going to ask a contractor to bind their price for probably more than 2 years, probably 3, because whatever that price is going to be the first year of the service. So you're asking them to bind the price for a very, very long time. And the other thing is, we have to be careful setting precedent, because I don't know that it's going to be the most efficient thing in the long term for us to go to the voters to approve individual bidders on contracts. That's kind of a rough precedent to set. So I would be cautious of that. I'm not telling you it can't be done, but I want you just to think about those things and be cautious of them. As far as holding a ballot to determine whether or not the council could proceed forward with the with a trash service, a single hauler trash service, I believe you could. It's what's known as an advisory election, because there is no statute that requires it. Therefore, the election authorities essentially consider them advisory. In other parts of the state, cities can actually conduct advisory elections on their own. They don't even have to have the county's buy-in. But because we are governed by an election board, we would have to vet language and things like that through the election board. So there would be maybe a little different process there for us than what we would normally utilize. But as far as roadblocks, I think they're the things I mentioned, just the really long period of time that you're asking a contractor to be bound to a bid understanding, so let's just play it out. Let's say you go ahead and go forward with the RFP process. You open the bid, let's say the 1st of February, and you have one hauler or the other that immediately rises to the surface. If I were that hauler, I would not want to do anything in furtherance of that bid until if you set the election in November, I wouldn't want to do anything in furtherance of preparing myself to take over that trash service until after that election occurred, because whatever contract we signed or whatever we went into would be contingent, or you might not even do a contract until after that. So, you have someone that you kind of have on the hook for a very long time, is kind of my point there. So, and realistically would from November to June, because I think, and I would stand corrected by Michael or whoever, but I think we actually sent the notification letters in early July, is my recollection. If it wasn't July, it was June. And you would have, you can't start the implementation of a trash service for 2 years, but you must have it implemented within 3. So you have that year time period. I don't know that we know, maybe Michael knows, what the implementation time would be for one of these haulers. So there may be some questions to ask regarding implementation, and if you have a November election, if that provides a sufficient time or not.
Michael Park, Director of Public Works. Good questions, and we covered some of these in our previous presentation. So the notice letter went out at the end of June. And so we would not be able to implement until really July 1st is the date we've been picking, of 2027. And so the RFP has been designed so that they would be bidding prices effective of that July 1st, 2027. And Mr. Head's right, that price would be good through the entirety of that first year of service before they would be allowed to have any contractual ability to increase the rate and whatever cap we put on that. And so the other end of the statutory requirement is that we must implement, if we're going to make a change, before July 1st of 2028. So you have this whole year of opportunity to begin something. That's understood, and that's what also gives the vendor the opportunity to build their capital, to begin the plan for implementation. It allows us to work the public education. So that long lead time is expected. Now, who knows what they may be bidding on prices and people's minds. If you did the RFP now, they could be bidding that future price in mind. People wouldn't compare that to what they're imagining their future price would be. So you might be in a better situation with the bracketed bookends of data that we have that show the average HOA is $19 and the average contract's $22, and that's the information we go with. And that also solves some of the legal concerns about tying you to a particular contractor in a contract or vendor. Instead, they're basically giving you a vote of confidence on the issue at large. They're giving you a vote of support or opposition to whether or not you contract, period. And then you follow through with an RFP. So there's a lot of different things. I could see both sides of that, really. If you go through the RFP and the prices are high, then you could be having an election for no reason because you make it a decision that, hey, this isn't a good value proposition. It's a difficult choice.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. This one's for me, and then I'll go to Councilmember Shields. So I think with the responses that Mr. Park just gave us, I think continuing through the RFP process is good. That way we have the information. We can look at the legal, and since we know that they know, we already know that they know within the RFP that they are bidding this to begin July of 27. So we know that part's taken care of. We don't have to worry about that anymore. But then we can look at legal issues for an advisory election and to see what that ballot language can look like. We can do that between now and then. And so we can, I wouldn't say that we need to pass an ordinance now or next week that says we're going to put this on the ballot in, August or November of 27. But I think we can start working towards that. And if it would make people feel better, we could do something like oh, what is it?
Resolution.
Yeah, a resolution that says we fully intend to put this on the ballot for the public to vote on. That way, we're not tied to a ballot if it all comes back and we hate it and we don't think it's worth it anyways. So, that's my feelings and where I think we should go from here. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is
Did
it
you?
Councilmember Shields next?
Sure, Councilmember
Okay,
Shields.
Councilmember Shields says she's not worried about the setting a precedent because this is a unique circumstance. Timing's not a problem because of what Mr. Park just said. Process, okay, yeah, she agrees with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, I feel like it's a long time, but then when I think about other things that we do, like when we build fire stations, I mean, you're getting bids and not starting construction until how long, Mr. Dunning, do you think? I mean, there's a gap.
Yeah, sometimes it could be, 6 months to a year.
Yeah, it could be a year. And if they were giving bids, February, not going into of 26, not going into effect until July 1st of 27, that's more than a year. It's a year and 4 months. But I know we've had delays before, and what kind of provisions are in the contracts, like Mr. Head, where they can increase the amount of the bid based on time, extended times, if there's an extension, you know what I mean? Are there things that we can incorporate there? Could we cap it during, do some type of cap in the election or something along those lines? The amount?
I believe that the RFP, and I haven't seen it, already has a cap in it. It's CPI up to a max cap. If
Okay.
Michael can nod or tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So as the RFP was approved, it was a CPI adjustment or 4%, whichever was higher, or lower, sorry, whichever was lower. There could, I think, in some of the line of questioning that you have with concern over the price being, could be 16 months from the date that they submit their bid and the day that they're implementing that price. We could possibly structure something in there where there is some kind of capped escalation that they could bid in there to give them a little more confidence in bidding. I can anticipate maybe some concern by vendors.
We usually do how long is the contract going to be for?
So it'd be 5-year contract with then multiple 2-year renewals.
And they usually have accelerators in the contract.
Right.
So it's like they have to build an accelerator in before they actually start the work.
Yes.
Okay, because of the extended time. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. Councilmember Funk.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm turning this over to Councilmember Pryor because her computer's still not working.
Yes.
Thank you. So I did like what Councilmember Carlisle said, but I don't know. Okay, so if the bids, what would that look like if the bids all come back and we're like, oh, this isn't really beneficial for the people in Lee Summit? What does that look like at that point to where it, I don't want us to just vote on it and implement this. There's enough people that are passionate on both sides that I think it's important that they vote on it. But would we still have the ability to be like, no, let's not further this to vote because it's not saving anyone any money? What does that look like?
You could decline to enter. You could refuse all the bids. You could decline all the bids.
So after we get all of the bids, then we can say no, we don't want to do this. This doesn't make sense for the people that live here, and then it just would die and not go on the ballot.
If you decided to take it off the ballot as well, we would, and if you had passed a ballot, ordinance, we would need to repeal it. But that's certainly possible as well.
Okay, so then would we get the bids in before we decide to put it on the ballot, or do we have to go ahead? You said we have to decide to put it on the ballot by the end of August, if it's going to go on the November ballot?
If you're talking about a November ballot, you would have to pass the appropriate ordinance by the end of August. But I think Michael will remember the timeline better than I do, but I think the timeline was that the RFP would be going out very quickly.
That's what I was
and you're gonna
thinking.
You would
Okay.
have those results much long before you would
Yeah.
have to approve a ballot ordinance.
Okay, that's what okay.
So our initial timeline was to really produce that RFP probably by the end of next week. I think we're now a little delayed on that, but that would have had it open on January 9th. We were trying to hit a particular schedule that the council had kind of set us direction towards. But if there's this desire to go to a public vote, which it sounds like there is, I think that opens up a little more time for us to fully vet out any remaining questions we have before issuing that RFP. I think we have arrived, I think, unless I've heard differently, the scope of services, the LDs, all the stuff that's talked about, all that work is done. So just now it's schedule and what kind of additional public input you want to get.
Okay, thank you. And then, oh, okay. Trish was talking about a non-binding resolution with now, and then an ordinance, with an ordinance later, that we're going to take it to vote. Okay. Thank you.
That's okay, isn't it, Mr. Head? Okay. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hodges.
So I guess my question is, and I'm sorry if you said this, but once we put the RFP out, and I know you said around January 9th, how long would it take to get all of our bids in for us to be able to see what those are? Because I guess where I'm getting at with this is I just want to make sure we're not doing anything that's making this an election issue, because I think that makes it a little more.
So the schedule I just laid out would actually have had it advertised
Okay.
the end of next week with opening all those bids January 9th. But, you know, if we're pushing this already for the voters to have a say through an election, that timeline is really subject to all change. And we could push this off to your discretion. You know, you can set the schedule here on whatever you would like it to be.
Okay, but bids would be in by January?
Yes, we were
Okay,
anticipating
that's what
about
I
a
was
month-long RFP
Okay.
process. This is no secret to the industry. They've been preparing bids for really the last 6 months. I mean, they know it, when they got the notice, they started working on it. I'm sure you've seen some of their positioning with regard to the support or opposition, and they've been working on their numbers too. So we feel like a normal bid process, RFP process and timeline is what we would apply here, and it makes sense.
Okay, so really, we would have all the information to present to whoever wants to see it in January?
Yes.
That makes,
If we follow the same timeline you want.
Okay,
Yeah, but if you'd like, if, as a council, we could ask staff to push that to a later date.
okay, no, I kind of like sooner the better, so we can make a decision sooner rather than push it off to when April, like, elections are coming. It's kind of, I don't want to make it a hot topic. I want to kind of, this council decide, make a decision, and then we can move forward kind of thing. Thank you.
Yep. I'm guessing she means also we could do a resolution sooner, as in even this year, with the possibility of an ordinance to put it on the election after the bids come in at 1st of February.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Head, what other advice you got for us on this?
Given the statement about the resolution, I think, given the sort of our packet deadline is tomorrow for next Tuesday,
Yeah.
we would probably have that available for you on the 16th, and
16th.
I probably need to have a little bit of discussion about what we would like to see in it. Maybe timeline and a statement that if the bids come out in a way that are acceptable to the council, the council would intend to proceed forward with an election, and calling an election is the gist that I was getting from you all.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I think that's accurate. Okay. All right. You thought you were going to have the holidays off, but you're going to have to grind away. All right. All right. Appreciate you all having this discussion. To summarize it really quick, we're looking at possibly a resolution for our consideration on the 16th of December. Bids would go out in January or come in during January. Should have them all in by the end of January, so that sometime 1st of April, 1st of February, we could consider, the resolution would be something along the lines of saying that we would, if we move forward with this, we're going to do so with an election. When the bids come back, council will, Mr. Park will put them forward to us for consideration. We can then decide if we want to continue with an ordinance calling for a November election. And I'm sure there'll be caveats based on the bidding and such. And people are going to want to see details. But the point is, at that time, we could also, if the bids came in high, we could say, we're going to reject these bids and we're not going to move forward. So it's either reject the bids, not move forward in February, or we could issue an ordinance or pass an ordinance that would call for a November election and put this in the hands of the voters. Does that sound right, Mr. Dunning? Okay. All right. Yes, Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. Okay, so you said that we could reject the bids, and then what does that, so this process, say we reject the bids, is there a chance that they can resubmit lower bids, or can we rework the RFP? Like, this is it, like if we reject the bids, then it's it and it dies and.
Still go through another process if we wanted.
Okay, yeah.
We can alter the process. That's what we're doing now, basically.
Yeah.
Is we're really altering the process. So we're still in control. We just need to make sure that we meet certain deadlines if we're going to put it on an election, which would be, if you wanted it on the November election, we've got to notify the Board of Elections by August to get into the November election. So we have time to do all of this. I think the key, though, is showing our intent to the citizens that we're putting this on the ballot if we move forward with it, to let them decide. Councilmember Pryor?
No, that was it. I just wanted to make sure that, yeah, so if we reject this, then the process would start over, so voices are still continued to be heard, like if, yeah, what, you made sense, yeah. It just, yeah, perfect.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Head, I think you've got direction. Yes.
Just for everyone's information, that final certification date for a ballot for November is on August the 25th of 2026.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we are moving on then. We are at the public comments. I have a couple of speakers. Mr. Alchawish.
All right. I'm here to talk about the TIFs today, but I just want to take a moment to commend you guys for the conversation you just had. I think the big issue most people had, myself included, every other city passes through the council, and the people didn't get a say in it. So making that intent clear, that you let the people have the say, is a big deal, and it restores a lot of trust for me, and I'm sure that goes the same for the community. But in regard to these TIFs, I read through this Longview TIF last night, and it basically, it's worth about $16 million. And that means we're talking about a $16 million tax burden that would be shifted onto the residents of Lee Summit. Now, TIFs in general were created with the intention of subsidizing development projects in blighted and rundown areas. Longview is hardly a blighted area, and the TIF plan even says as much. In fact, it's a prime development area in an affluent and growing city. And this TIF seems like it's being wildly misused in an attempt to subsidize development in a place where no incentive is required. And I believe that knowing this and approving it in an unqualified area like Longview would be an act of malfeasance by the city council. And further, it kind of seems like this government and this city council is always looking to hand out subsidies and incentives for developers, but then you're quick to saddle Lee Summit residents with heavier and heavier tax burdens, such as the use tax in 21, the public safety tax in 22, and now you want to put a stormwater tax on the ballot for next year. Our city can't afford basic public services without further squeezing the taxpayer, but we have incentive after incentive for developers. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the idea of lowering taxes for businesses and developers, but not at the expense of the residents, and not the way this city council does it by picking and choosing winners. The priority should be to first lower the tax burden on the citizens who are just trying to survive, And then secondarily, you lower the burden on entities engaged in commerce. And when you lower taxes for businesses, you make it universal, a level playing field. You don't engage in crony capitalism, giving special incentives to only certain economic actors. And I think the worst part of all this is the people of Lee Summit are struggling financially. I watched the Finance and Budget Committee last night, and it was noted that the sales tax is down. And the city acknowledged that this is likely because the residents are under financial stress and unable to spend like they historically have. So does it really serve the residents to give developers $16 million and then ask us to accept a new tax? Here's what I'm asking the City Council to do tonight. Distance yourself from this developer-first focus. Put the residents first instead. Vote no on these TIF ordinances, and then prioritize fixing the budget so that you don't have to continue overtaxing the people for basic services like stormwater management. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Vollenweider.
And if not the parcels, the zoning, but I would prefer the parcels.
I don't think I can get to the intranet here. I can get to Jackson County parcel data.
I already have a picture of that. I need to show what you all are showing.
Just zoning layers?
Parcel, that you're showing that two parcels have been combined.
That's the county.
Yeah, I already have that, though. You all have a map that shows that, too.
Yeah, but I don't have that. I don't think I have access to our system here. I have access to the Jackson County parcel data here.
You can't get to Lee Summit maps?
That's within our internal system. I don't have that loaded up on this one. I can get you to Jackson County, though.
I have a picture of that one right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we have that on.
Okay. Teresa Vollenweider, 5201 Northeast Maybrook Road. I had talked about Paula Deal's rezoning the last time, and I wanted to be sure to show this plat that was done. It's a minor plat, and it shows these two parcels combined. But it was an engineer that signed and sealed this document, so of course it's not any good. And it was interesting because then the people that looked at it were Hector Soto, and he had lots of comments, even said surveyor's certification. But it doesn't appear that he's actually, telling this person, hey, you're an engineer, you can't sign and seal that plat. Or even create it, or even survey the property lines. Gene Williams, also on here. He is a professional engineer. He should know. And I would think Kathy Kramer, as a technician, would know as well. Interesting then that Mike Weisenborn, March 9th, 2020, sent a letter out and told Paula that your application is moot. It's expired, and you don't have that replat that you wanted. But lo and behold, the county shows, and I'm the one that put these little red dots here, the county shows that the replat occurred, and that those were combined and the rezoning took place. Well, that's not true. I couldn't find a recorded plat. Wait, maybe some of you in the legal profession could find that plat for us. And then Mayor Baird and Mr. Ed or Head over here signed this. And it states, the rezoning will not take effect until the subject property and the abutting 11 acres are platted into one lot. This ordinance shall not take effect until the subject property and abutting, are combined, but yet you don't have a plat. Paula paid money for this. And the city is doing this stuff because they want right of way. You knew how to do it. This is a condemnation from 2001. Lo and behold, look at the names on there. Conrad Lamb, Finance Officer of Lee Summit. Mike Pendergast, Director of Collections for Jackson County. They made sure they got paid for their strips of land. I think people are being deceived.
Thank you, Ms. Vollenweider. All right, we're going to go to presentations at this point. There's, I think Mr. Bushek's going to be giving a lot of information in the first presentation, and then we'll use that information as record for the following presentations. Is that for the following bills? Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
David Bushek, Chief Counsel of Economic Development and Planning. So you'll notice that there are 12 ordinances on your agenda, and we decided that this would probably be a good opportunity to give you a short presentation so you have a better understanding of what these ordinances are and why there's so many on this agenda. So I will walk through a few slides to give you some background. We'll start with the date. You'll notice the date that the new Longview TIF plan was approved. This was the second TIF plan in the Longview area, was approved 10 years ago. So the very last date that the City Council has to activate any of those projects, those TIF project areas, is 2 weeks from today, is December 16th of this year. If the project ordinances are not activated by then the city will permanently lose the ability to activate the remaining projects. So that's the primary reason that these ordinances are on your agenda for consideration. The TIF plan was amended in 2019, and some of the project areas were split into 2 separate project areas, which I'll go over in a moment. But generally, the overall purpose of the TIF plan was obviously historic preservation. This was a unique TIF plan in that the areas where TIF is planned to be activated or has been activated, those are the generators of revenue for the historic preservation, and where the money has been spent and would continue to be spent is on the specific historic structures that are specified in the TIF contract. So whereas in most cases we're activating tax increment financing on a piece of property and then the reimbursement goes to the developer to develop that parcel of property typically, this one is a unique situation because the revenue is used for historic preservation. One other thing that I'll note, just for basic education, this TIF plan does not increase any taxes, does not increase property taxes, does not increase sales taxes. All of the property owners within any TIF area pay the exact same amount on their property tax bill. The county still sends the property tax bill that has the same amount, whether TIF has been activated on that property or not. TIF only controls where those revenues are spent. So the property owner pays the same tax bill. It does not raise sales taxes. It doesn't raise any taxes on any citizens in the city. It's only dictates where those revenues are spent. So a brief background on what has been completed. The North Arch rehabilitation has been complete. That's the North Arch by the Hawthorne Bank. The barn stabilization has been complete. The farm office and dairy manager stabilization has been completed. And then the lake and pergola is complete and the mansion rehab is complete. The difference between stabilization and rehabilitation is set forth in the TIF contract. Stabilization was work funded by a city loan that has been repaid from the first TIF plan that was approved in 2003 to stabilize structures in order to maintain their physical integrity and to prevent further deterioration or collapse due to weather and other natural causes. So you may recall there were some large holes, for example, in the 2 large barns. One of the large barns had a very large hole. That was shored up through the stabilization process. So substantial funds have already been expended to stabilize certain of these structures in the hope that they would someday be fully rehabilitated with additional TIF revenues. And then, and that was phase one. So those were the structures that were completed as a result of the 2003 TIF plan. And then phase two, that was the 2015 TIF plan that had the different projects that we're considering tonight. And I'll show you in a moment on some maps. Again, the lake rehabilitation is completed. It calls for mansion renovation, the farm office and dairy manager, full rehabilitation, barns redevelopment, full redevelopment, and then a permanent structure for the mansion. And those items have not been completed yet. So we turn to the maps, a basic summary of the geographic areas. This is the map for the Longview Farm TIF plan, the 2003 TIF plan. The entire area, the entire area of Longview, what we consider as Longview, was included in the redevelopment area. There were originally 10 TIF project areas, meaning TIF was intended to be activated in 10 separate areas. Only 4 of them were activated. One here, third here, and then the mansion down here. The mansion was the first one activated, and that turns off soon. And then fast forward to 2015, this was the new Longview TIF plan, and you'll see that the red areas, this is the redevelopment area, and these were all of the remaining areas to be redeveloped as of 2015. And there are numerous project areas. There were originally 15 separate project areas, with the intention being that as each of these areas developed, we would activate TIF collection to maximize that 23-year clock. When TIF is activated on a piece of property, it can last for up to 23 years. So the intention of using multiple projects was to maximize revenue collection in this area as these properties develop. But with the next map, as you'll see, some of these have been activated because they've been developed and the remainder are not. So the red areas, those are the project areas that are remaining that have not been activated. And these correspond to the 12 ordinances that are on your agenda next after this presentation. And then the blue, these are the projects that have been activated and the 23-year clock has started. And so one of the reasons we thought this presentation would be important for you is to understand 2 key facts. And I think this is a unique situation for Lee Summit. Fact number 1 is we're at the 10-year deadline, so you lose the ability to activate these projects if you don't by 2 weeks from today or tonight if you choose to do so. And the second key fact is, unique situation here, none of these properties presently have any proposed development. Certain developments have been proposed for certain of these properties, but at this time, there's no final development plan and no building permits that are pending for any development. So the unique situation is we're up against the 10-year deadline with the second TIF plan for the Longview area, yet there's presently no plans to develop these areas. But if you don't activate these projects now, you would permanently lose the ability to collect TIF revenues from these. So it's a policy decision for you to make. Do you think it's appropriate or not to activate these TIF projects given these factors? Then the last slide I have for you, this is an itemization of each of the project areas and how they've been split. I won't go through each of these, but you'll see that certain of these projects have been activated that I just showed you on the previous map. Some of these have been chopped into 2 separate project areas for the reason that I described, to maximize the ability to activate TIF collection as development happens. And even though some of these correspond to the amendment that happened in 2019, that doesn't change the 10-year deadline. The 10-year deadline still runs from when the TIF plan was originally approved, and that carries through any amendment. So we're up against the 10-year deadline for all of these projects, including the ones that were split in 2019. Last, I will end with, the developer of record at this point is Box Development. So the city's TIF contract is with Box Development, and we have Russ Pearson here tonight, if you'd like to hear from him, representative of the primary principal of Box Development, and then Mark Moberly with Sunflower, who owns the barns, owns the some of the other historic structures, and would be happy to talk with you if you have any questions about what they have planned in this area and if you'd like to hear from them. So it's a policy question for you if you'd like to activate these projects or not, given the unique factors. And the last thing I will note is that these ordinances have all had first reading previously, and that's the itemization here on this table. So if you move forward, you're just proceeding to final approval of each of these ordinances. And I will end there and be happy to answer any questions, or you can talk with the developers also.
Okay, questions? Councilmember Shields.
Thank you. My computer is still not working.
Okay,
But,
Councilmember Pryor.
okay, so one, I'm really going to miss you when you're not here because you've never made me feel dumb for asking any of my silly questions. But,
Thanks.
okay, so with all of this, can an individual developer then still get an incentive on any of this land? Is one of my questions. And then my other question is, remember that house a long time ago that we approved with like, she was going to maybe redo it with an incentive, but now I think it's in foreclosure. Does that play into any of this, or what does?
So, to answer your first question, can an individual benefit from this TIF? I think the answer is yes, if they become the owner of one of the properties where one of the historic structures is located. So in the instance that you're thinking of, there was an individual. So this is one of the rare instances where it is an individual as opposed to an entity, a company name, that has stepped into the shoes of the developer with respect to the historic structure that's located here that is in the process of being rehabilitated. My understanding is that there have been some problems with their private loan. I don't really know all the details, but the answer is yes. If that person rehabilitates that structure and incurs reimbursable costs, then yes, the TIF plan will provide for reimbursement to her based on the work that she completes after she follows the process to receive certification of those costs. And then part two of my answer to your first question would be, if an individual, whether it's an individual or a company, happens to purchase, say, the barns, for example, then that party would be entitled to reimbursement under the TIF plan because they would step into the shoes of the developer and be entitled to receive reimbursement for the rehabilitation of those structures. You may need to repeat the second part of your question. I think
No, you answered it, yes. Okay. And then also, so with this TIF plan, can they not tear down the structure? They have to rehab the structure?
Well, the intention is for each of the identified historic structures to be rehabilitated, and then in order to receive the reimbursement, they have to provide a preservation easement, an historic preservation easement, facade easement for the structure. And so what we've talked about in the past is, if you think in terms of what the city gets for the TIF, what is the end result? It's the preserved historic structures in their current state, in their preserved state, with a historic preservation easement, which basically grants to the city the right to prevent any exterior changes to that structure without the city's permission, so they stay nice looking and rehabilitated in that state for the benefit of the community. That's the underlying purpose of the TIF plan.
Okay. That helps for the benefit of the community.
Right, and I guess one other point, and this may be tied into your line of questioning, is it has always been the intention that these structures would be privately owned and they would be rehabilitated with private monies and then reimbursed by the city for that rehabilitation, but the intention has always been that they would be privately used in some fashion.
Okay,
unless
that does
we reach
help
a
too.
different
Okay.
agreement, unless they happen to come into public ownership through some arrangement that we haven't really discussed yet.
Okay, so the only real public benefit is not having a rundown structure.
Right, preserving the historic structures for
So
their,
it's
for
not-
their
yeah.
historic benefit.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I think it is important that we continue to preserve our historic buildings. But I wanted to find out a little bit, you mentioned that the two gentlemen that are here, I would like to hear a little bit about, what their interest is in this.
Mr. Moberly?
Good evening. Mark Moberly, is on? Hear me?
Yes.
Mark Moberly, Sunflower Development Group, 1125 Grand Boulevard, Kansas City, Missouri. So we are the owner of the historic barns. We are the owner of the Longview Mansion. We are the former owner of the two homes that you referenced, Councilwoman, that were sold about a year and a half ago to a private individual who endeavored on a development plan, and I do understand the same as Mr. Bushek. She's had some financing issues. Point of clarification, the mansion is complete. It has been fully reimbursed, so that was not marked correct on the slide. We've been fully reimbursed. So mansion's done, except for the permanent structure. The barns was always in the next in the order of priority, up to $9.65 million of TIF reimbursement. That's after the homes are eligible for up to $1.2 million of TIF reimbursement. We have tried, and you've probably seen, that we've tried to find a user, a partner, a buyer, someone to do something with the barns for the last really 10 years since we've been involved, actively for the last 4 years. But no shortage of ideas. Everyone's got an idea. Councilman Lovell, you'll remember pre-pandemic, we were close with something very exciting, and that went away. Regardless of what we find, there's still a $9.65 million gap. We are closer now than we ever have been to finding some use for those barns with a partner who's got an exciting vision. That goes away if the TIF doesn't get activated and future revenues are not available to do the reimbursement. You ask what happens with the barns. We own them. We fund the insurance. We fund the property taxes. We fund the lawn care as best we can. We can't do that forever. And so I don't know what the future of the barns will be, but I can't imagine it's going to be what the neighbors want, and quite frankly, as historic redevelopers, what we want. We bought the barns, the homes, and the mansion 10 years ago with the full intention of doing a redevelopment. The homes, we had an opportunity to sell those to someone at the time we thought could execute on that vision. That unfortunately has not been the case. We're hopeful that that gets back on track. But that was done under the understanding that up to $1.2 million would be available for reimbursement once those costs were certified. And so if that goes away, or if that pushes out farther, I'm not sure how that impacts her underwriting. I talked a lot. I don't know if I answered any of your question. And then at the end of that is the permanent structure on the mansion, which is quite a ways down the road. We'd love to replace the tent with a more permanent structure with those last funds from the TIF. I would tell you when we were here, it's funny, you used the same introductory slide as we used 10 years ago, so I very much recognize that slide. We thought that the development would be on a rocket ship. And B&B Theater was exciting, and Taco Bell was exciting, and senior living, and daycare, and then the pandemic happened, and it stopped. And so we haven't seen quite the development that I know Mr. Pearson and myself and everyone in the new Longview area had hoped, because that's what drives the ability to produce TIF, what drives the ability for us to do projects. I would tell you right now, if there was I'm going to make this up, a grocery store that was just pumping out sales tax and property taxes, and that TIF was up here, that gets more exciting for future redevelopment. That unfortunately has not been the case. And so we've been sitting patient. But like I said, we do have someone, and we have met with City Manager Dunning, Mr. Bushak, Mr. Elam about that. And so they are aware of the idea. I think there's general excitement and support there, but it's hard to come to you with anything until we know that those future TIF project areas are going to be activated and hopefully produce revenues.
Great. All right, thank you. Mr. Pearson, do you mind saying a few words?
Try this mic. Okay, there it works. Good. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for having us. I'm happy to answer any questions. I guess generally, Russell Pearson, 1201 Southwest Corinthian Lane. I live next to the pergola. I moved into the neighborhood in 2011 or 2012 timeframe. So I've been involved in both of the 2015 and 2019 TIFs. And as circumstances would have it, I started out as a resident, and now we're the master developer for the remaining undeveloped portions of the project, which is wild. So we've made progress. It's been, standard challenges that come with projects and recessions and COVID and all those things. But we do have one project that's in design. I believe we uploaded our FTP response today to the portal for the it's Project F1 on this site. And we're hopeful that the rest will follow. We all thought it would have been fully finished by now. It hasn't, but this action activates all the project areas so that when they are developed, then the TIF revenue will be able to be collected and used for its intended purpose for the restoration of the historic buildings.
Can you tell me what that project is, your design?
For F1, it's a restaurant with an activity plaza.
Okay, great. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Lovell.
Yeah, I too have been involved with this in some capacity, certainly live in that neighborhood. Actually remember being on that side in 2015 and when we were actually pursuing that. Mr. Bushek, I thought maybe I was going to ask you a couple questions, but just for clarity purposes, like when this was initially put together, just so everybody has a full understanding, there's a real big push to preserve the historic structures, right? And so
Yes.
that was, but we knew that was going to come at a cost, and we needed to stabilize them to keep them from further dilapidation. There was a big movement in the area, my neighborhood, in the history, and you can look back and say whether that was the right thing to do or not to do. We all had grand visions for what it might be, and so we came up with this plan, if I'm not mistaken, was to activate this TIF, and then the commercial development would generate the funds that would help to go back to offset those things. And obviously, we've had the shortfall of the development. We haven't really met those needs, and so we haven't seen much action. So I guess my question to you, and I think it was kind of following up with Ms. Pryor was asking, is that the TIF is already activated on these, so, and I think she said individual, but like if a developer came in, so let's say Box is the master developer, but they've got something going in there, they don't, there's no incentives to go to them for the development, but roads and infrastructure and all of that is there, but they're activating the TIF, correct, from those sales taxes to actually go and be used in the pool of funds to do something with like the barns or the historic structures.
that's
So I think
correct.
that may be kind of what you were trying to get at there.
Right,
It's like
and
versus
so-
an individual or any developer, like whereas a developer might come in and ask for a TIF, it might be for roads, infrastructure, or something to help offset those costs. This is already done and baked. It's really just going to be redirected to this.
That's correct.
And the choice is, do we continue it, hoping that we do continue with no guarantee that we do get further development? We've already got it activated and those funds are actually starting to pool, which would, in theory, give us better opportunity to redevelop those areas or do something. So, right, so it's
Right.
already activated. It's, it's not really a handout to anyone else. It was how the city was going to redirect tax proceeds to protect those structures.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. And so here we are today, it's getting ready to expire. We have a chance to extend it for how much longer, or?
So if you approve each of these ordinances, then each of the parcels that are labeled in the red, TIF would be activated for up to 23 years. And presumably it would last for 23 years, given the burden and the budget and the reimbursables of this TIF plan.
Gotcha, okay, all right. I think that's all I had. It was more comment, but
Yep,
also trying to.
that's all accurate.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Pryor?
Thank you. So this is all of these are a tough vote for me, but ultimately, I feel like, so tell me if I'm, I think it's important to preserve history. And I'm worried if we don't preserve, I'd much rather see some sort of an incentive go to preserving history than, I don't know, a bunch of rental houses or something with real no public benefit. So if we don't approve these TIFs, the non-approving of the TIFs would basically just mean that they don't have enough money to continue to upkeep the buildings or potentially do a development that's going to preserve the buildings. What would it mean if we don't approve these? What does that?
So the one thing that I can say with probably a high degree of certainty is that if these TIF projects are not approved, then what Mr. Moberly just said is probably the case. It's unlikely that we would see any movement on the barn redevelopment, because in the TIF budget, there's up to $9.65 million that's available for the barn redevelopment, and based on the discussions that Mr. Moberly's had with us, that amount is necessary to move forward with the Barnes project. So to be clear on this point, the other TIF projects that have been activated will continue to generate revenue. The first 4 TIF projects that were activated under the 2003 TIF plan, although the mansion's done, but these will continue to generate revenue. And the concern is if you don't activate the remaining projects, and then if development does happen, no TIF revenues would be collected from those properties, and it's highly unlikely that the TIF plan as a whole would ever reach a point where a barn project is a viable option. That's probably the one thing that we can say with some certainty.
So what would happen to the barn project if it's not approved? Nothing, It would just get left basically to,
The technical answer would be whatever revenues become available in the order of priority for the barns would be advanced to barns redevelopment, but it would be less than originally anticipated if these properties develop and then TIF revenues are not collected. So activating these TIF projects will generate more TIF revenue and make a barn, I would say, make a barn project more likely, but I can't say that there won't be any revenues available for the barns, because chances are there will, given that the other projects have been activated, but there's a lot of numbers behind that and a lot of projections that we have to run to actually quantify that. I think the one solid conclusion to answer your question is it would make a barn project very, very difficult.
and that could potentially hurt all of the property values around it if that's, okay.
I suppose that's one extrapolation. The barns, it's speculation beyond that on my part or anybody's part. I don't know what would happen with the barns. I don't know if they would continue to stay in their current state or if some project would happen that's not as grand as originally anticipated. It'd be a lot of speculation on my part.
Okay, thank you. Also, as a side note, I read a book one time about I think his name's R.A. Long. Is that, yeah, super interesting.
That's him.
Yep, yeah, it was interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hodges.
Thank you. So I think where I'm struggling is we keep saying community benefit, but I'm having a hard time seeing the community benefit in it. So maybe you can help me understand that, because other than maybe driving by and not seeing a building that's on a lot of land going downhill, I think community benefit is something the community can use and benefit from. But if we're driving by and say they eventually do put in a business, well, I can't just walk in and tour it whenever I want necessarily. Like the mansion, I can't just walk in and do that. So I guess I'm struggling to see why the definition of community benefit, because I think community benefit like a public park or, things that truly we can use and we benefit from. So I guess I'm struggling over that.
Yeah, so I can tell you what the original basis of the TIF plan was, and the public benefit is preservation of the historic structures. It's up to you as a council member to assign whatever value you think is important to you or not to preserving historic structures and advancing these funds to preserve the historic structures. But to be clear, the thing that the city benefits from is the preservation of these historic structures. They stay in a rehabilitated state for a longer period of time, and whatever public benefit you might assign to the historic preservation and those purposes, that is the benefit. It's not something that I'm advocating or arguing for. I'm just explaining what the purpose of the TIF plan was, and that's what it would continue to be. If you approve these projects, it would enhance the ability to collect TIF revenues if these properties develop and further the historic preservation, and that's the public purpose behind it.
Okay. So already many years have gone by with a lot of these not being completed.
Yes.
Which means they're getting more dilapidated, which is going to cost more. So I guess what is our assurance that they will actually do something? We're putting this together in hopes, but I mean, there's really no accountability to say, hey, like, this is our expectation, and,
Right. There's nothing that compels the developer to rehabilitate these structures. The premise of the TIF plan was the TIF is approved to allow for the preservation of the historic structures, and if private uses or maybe public uses can be found for these structures, there's a source of revenue to preserve them and supplement what the private sector presumably could not afford without the TIF. And again, that's the original premise of the 2003 and then the 2015 TIF plans.
Okay, yeah, that, I don't know, that's where I'm just struggling, because I had a council member tell me, well, it's kind of like, preserving the historic figures or buildings in Italy and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but when I went to Italy, I got to go into all of those. So I'm thinking, like, if this was something like, yeah, we're going to rehab it so that way we can do school field trips, let the kids learn about our history. And I think I'd feel like, yeah, that's a community benefit. Let's keep that alive, that history alive. So
I think one part of the answer to your question or the issue that you're pondering is, like, for example, the Show Horse Arena that's part of the elementary, the Longview Farm Elementary School, that structure the rehabilitation was funded with this TIF plan. That was the first project that was the first historic structure that was rehabilitated and the first project that was paid with this TIF plan that became part of the school. That obviously has a different function than a single house that's in private ownership that just sits there and the public can't go in. As for the barns, I presume the proposal for the barns would be something that the public could go in eventually, because the proposal would be something like maybe restaurant uses or something that the public attends, and there's cash registers and there's retail happening in those structures.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Shields?
Councilmember Shields would like to know where the 10-year clock comes from for these.
The TIF Act, it's in the statute. Every TIF project has to be activated within 10 years after the plan was approved, and that's simply what the statute says.
And then she wants to know, why does statute require it?
Require,
10-year clock.
I don't know.
What's the thought process behind it, do you know?
To be diligent, I suppose. I don't know if so Missouri does not have legislative history. We had a former council member that would tell us what that legislative history was, but.
I'll give him a call later.
Yeah, you might. But there's no legislative history, so I think the simple answer is it's to put some time limit on it, that it can't last in perpetuity, and to encourage some level of diligence. That's the best answer I have.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bushek, just before we keep going, I just want to make sure everybody kind of is on the same page. So F1 was referenced
Yes,
as maybe a restaurant.
right.
You know, let's say it developed as a restaurant. And currently, like it gets built, it's going to get assessed a property assessment. It will get a tax bill, the owner will, and then the taxes then go to Jackson County for disbursement to all the different entities.
Correct.
And what we're deciding is if we want that to happen, or if we want to activate the TIF, and then half of if we activated the TIF, then if it gets developed, then 50% of it.
100% of the property tax would be captured by the TIF plan, and
So
50% of the sales
instead of the
tax.
money going to Jackson County, for them to disperse to all the different entities and themselves, and to a degree, but there's numerous entities such as schools. Instead of that, that money goes to the TIF plan. So it goes to the historic preservation of the buildings that we're talking about.
That's
So-
correct.
So I just want to make sure everybody, it's complicated, but is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay.
As I said, each property owner receives the same tax bill. They don't pay more taxes. It's just a function of where.
So what we're
we got
deciding
the base
is-
taxes
yeah.
today, the increment gets captured and goes into that special
So we're
allocation.
deciding is, where do the taxes go?
Correct.
That's what we're deciding.
Yes.
Do they go to the county for disbursement, the way that, you could call it community betterment? Or do we capture it, redirect it to the historic preservation projects in this community?
Correct.
Okay. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, you bet. Member Tim Lopez.
Thanks, Mayor. So I think for us, this body of current elected local Lee Summit representatives, I don't think any of us were here when the original TIF was approved. I think the mayor and I were on here, or maybe you were, Councilmember Carlisle?
Not for 03, but
No.
15.
Yeah, 15. 15, then you and I were here for 17.
No, I wasn't here in 17.
I guess we weren't, yeah. Was it 19? Okay, I apologize on the years.
I'm
but-
good with numbers.
So I'm off a year or two. But
Okay.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is, when it came to us in 2019, first time I'd ever really been engaged in this kind of discussion, I think a lot of the same questions were asked then that some of the new council people are asking now. And
Right.
I think it just comes down to, this historic site, both specifically for Lee Summit, and that's what we get to impact. It is a historic site for us here in our community, but regionally, it's a historic site. R.A. Long, if you guys have not read his story, it's a really interesting story, and he was a big lumber manufacturer across the country, but he lived in Kansas City, and those of you that have not researched the history, I'd encourage you to do so. But so it is historic from that sense, and so we have to make the decision now, this group, whether we want to continue this concept that the original council approved. And I think they probably had a lot of the same questions and a lot of the concerns that we might have.
They did.
You know, and so I know that was discussed at one of the previous presentations when you came before us, especially in 2019. So I look at this almost comparing it to Union Station, downtown Kansas City, where you had a bi-state, you know, a whole region approved a tax, not exactly the same situation, but they had to raise taxes to help fix a historic facility that the public does get benefit out of. I think we've all, at one point or another, have taken our families down there for whatever reason. And so that's the decision we have to make, I think, collectively as a group, is do you want to keep this going? Do we really believe in the legacy that this has in our community? And, you know, just for all the factors that have been raised, most of it economic, the market dictates what happens. It just hasn't developed like we want it to. But I think it would be a tragedy if we lost this in our community. So, you know, I'd be in support of continuing on with this TIF. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just say that I agree with what Mayor Pro Tem Lopez just said.
Thank you. If you're asking if I believe that Mr. Pearson has been doing a great job out there. We've seen the benefit since he's been there. And I get to see you, once every year and a half in this room from, 50 feet away. But you have done some great things out there, and I'm glad to see things moving forward. So, and I'd rather see the money be redirected, the taxes redirected to these historic buildings than where they would go without. So I'm in support. Anybody else want to chime in before we start voting on stuff?
I'm excited to read.
You're excited? Oh, to read. Okay, yeah. So we're going to run through these. Thank you both for being here tonight, by the way, to help with the conversation. It is confusing and one of the harder, more complicated things that we don't deal with as often. I'm going to start off with District 2. It's your district. Councilmember Lovell, would you please read Bill number 15-228?
Thanks, Mayor. I move for adoption Bill number 15-228, an ordinance approving redevelopment project D for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 15-228 by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. No, aye or nay?
I'm an aye.
There we go. So all the votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 9-0. Thank you. That bill's adopted. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read Bill number 15-229?
Thank you, Mayor. I move Bill number 15-229, an ordinance approving a redevelopment project E for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein be adopted.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 15-229 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember Pryor?
Aye.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Pryor, would you read Bill number 15-236, please?
Thank you. I move for adoption Bill number 15-236, an ordinance approving redevelopment project L for the new Longview tax increment financing plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 15-236 by Councilmember Pryor, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember Pryor, thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Funk, would you please read Bill number 15-237?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption Bill number 15-237, an ordinance approving the Redevelopment Project M for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 15-237 by Councilmember Funk, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember Pryor?
Aye.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Rader, would you please read Bill number 15-239?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption Bill number 15239, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project O for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 15-239 by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember Pryor?
Aye.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Hodges, would you please read Bill number 1977?
I move for the adoption of Bill number 19-77, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project C1 for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 19-77 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Funk. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember Pryor?
Aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, would you please read Bill number 1978?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I move for adoption of Bill number 19-78, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project C2 for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 1978 by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Lovell, would you please read Bill number 1979?
I move for adoption Bill number 19-79, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project F1 for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. A motion to adopt Bill number 1979 by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read Bill 1980?
Thank you, Mayor. I move Bill number 19-80, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project F2 for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein be adopted.
Thank you. I have a motion to adopt Bill number 1980 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember?
Aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Hodges, would you please read Bill 1982?
I move for the adoption of Bill number 19-82, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project H1 for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 1982 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That bill is adopted unanimously. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read Bill number 1983?
Thank you, Mayor. I move Bill number 19-83, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project H2 for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein be adopted.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 1983 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember?
Aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. That bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. And Councilmember Pryor, Bill number 1985, please.
Thank you. I move for adoption Bill number 19-85, an ordinance approving Redevelopment Project J2 for the new Longview Tax Increment Financing Plan and activating the collection of tax increment financing revenues therein.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 1985 by Councilmember Pryor, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember?
Aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. And it's adopted unanimously. So we just got through our second readings on the Longview TIF. Now we're going to go to proposed ordinances first reading. Yes, Bill number 25233. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read that one?
Thank you, Mayor. I move Bill number 25-233, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement by and between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri, in the city of Kansas City, Missouri, for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, and maintaining portions of Northwest Valley Garden Drive and Northwest Nolan Road, and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents on behalf of the city for the same. Be moved to second reading.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 25-3233 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. And I don't want to prolong this, but I think it's important to let people know why we're having to construct these roads. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Good evening, Ryan Elam, Assistant City Manager. So this is located in a portion of our community that borders Kansas City, Missouri, and Quarry Park Road, just north of 470, west of Pryor Road, experienced a sinkhole, a mine collapse, essentially, over the roadway that's made repair of that road not feasible. Through there. So this is a new roadway connection that would provide permanent access to about 4 residents and a couple of other adjacent properties over in that area. And this is necessary in order for us to be able to provide public access to those properties.
Thank you.
Thank you. And can you confirm that it's been a real challenge working around this road for the last couple of years?
Yes, I can confirm that.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Oh, Councilmember Pryor?
I'm an aye, please.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That goes to second reading unanimously. Thank you. And Councilmember Funk, would you please read Bill number 25-234?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I advance the second reading, Bill number 25-234, an ordinance authorizing the city of Lee Summit, Missouri to issue taxable industrial development revenue bonds and a principal amount not to exceed $26,105,000 in connection with the Douglas Station Apartments project and authorizing certain documents and actions in connection therewith.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 25-234 by Councilmember Funk, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. So if I'm not mistaken, these are the apartments across from Lee Summit North, maybe? And then can you kind of explain this a little bit more?
Yes. So this is the apartment project that's located essentially behind the police station, intersection of Sloan and Sycamore. It's 150 apartment units. The City Council approved the Chapter 100 plan a year ago, December of '24, and these are the implementation documents to carry out the Chapter 100 plan that the Council's approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote.
Mayor, I'm a no, please.
Okay. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 6-3. And then, Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, would you please read Bill number 25-235?
Yes. I move to advance the second reading, Bill number 25-235, an ordinance authorizing the city of Lee Summit, Missouri to issue taxable industrial development revenue bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $47,700,000 in connection with the Greens at Woods Chapel Apartment Phase 1 project and authorizing certain documents and actions in connection therewith.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 25-235 by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? When's this one? Yeah, do you want to know about this one? When was this one? This one was more than a year ago, Mr. Bushek.
Yes, that's right. The council heard the conceptual presentation in June of '23, and then the Chapter 100 plan was approved. I don't know if I have the date here. Sorry, I don't have the date in the packet when this Chapter 100 plan was approved. I do have the ordinance number, 9760. Don't have the date, I'm sorry.
I can look it up.
Probably last year. September of that year, 23. So September of 23.
Okay,
I'm told.
there we go. Okay.
276 one- and two-bedroom units in 10 three-story apartment buildings.
All right, very good. Any questions or discussion? Okay. It is, yes. All right, I'm going to call for the vote then. Please cast your vote. Councilmember Pryor?
I'm a no, please.
All right, thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 6-3, and that gets us through. Thank you all. That gets us through our ordinances tonight. We're going to go to committee reports. Committee reports. Councilmember Pryor?
Okay, thank you. We have a Public Works meeting coming up on Monday. And you said you will not be there? I'm jury duty. Oh, you got picked. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next week, okay. Yep, that's fine. Council, we'll go to council comments. Any council comments? Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. With all the discussion lately about everything going on at the airport, I was thinking the other day that we haven't gotten an update on, I know the last bond issue, we allocated land for Station 8, but I don't know where we are on a possible update, if I can ask, on Station 8. Is that Chief Snyder, I guess? No, I know.
Mr. Dunning?
Well, I know that through that no tax increase bond issue, it was for Fire Station 8, it was for funding for acquisition of property and then design. There is no funding in that bond for construction. So property's been acquired. I don't know, maybe Chief Snyder knows with respect to any design efforts, but that was the plan going into the bond issuance.
Good evening, Mike Snyder, Fire Chief. It is scheduled for 2027 within our capital improvement plans to do the design phase.
That's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on then to staff roundtable.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple topics around World Cup here in Lee Summit on this Friday is LS Goal 26, which is our chamber-sponsored group who's doing a lot of planning around World Cup. They'll be hosting a draw day over across the street at Green Street. Numerous different activities planned for over there, but between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. is when the big screen will be up, and the FIFA will be doing their draws for the teams and the pools of play that they will be in. So the community, all of you are invited if you want to bring your lunch over to Green Street, or there'll be food trucks there to participate in the draw and watch that live. Then for a lot of the community stakeholders that have been putting a lot of effort behind what to do within Lee Summit for World Cup between 4:30 and 5:30. They're having a VIP event. I believe all of you have been invited to that at Green Street as well. And then at 5:30 to 7:30, the entire community can come back to Green Street. There'll be all kinds of activities down there, photos with Santa, mini soccer games and challenges, different activities. Have a live band, some trivia, community announcements, again, food trucks, drinks, treats, things of that nature down there for the draw day event. So I wanted to promote that for LS Goal 26. And then I sent an email to all of you yesterday. KC 2026, so the Kansas City Planning Group, has announced their transit plans, and happy to announce that Lee Summit is considered a regional connection. What that means is KC 2026 will fund and provide services, bus services between FanFest, Our park and ride facility at Blue Parkway over by Bobside Ford, we have that park and ride facility. And then downtown, and that bus service will go back and forth between those 3 points, not stopping at others. So it's kind of a direct connector to FanFest. So that's exciting to learn about, too. There's some additional steps we'll be taking to make that complete. So that's some things to share on the World Cup front. Then with respect to, there's been a lot of questions, and we're seeking a lot of direction with regard to Jackson County and how this single-family residential property tax rebate process will occur. That will have impacts on revenues for taxing jurisdictions. The county has worked with the Mid-America Regional Council, and Brianna Burrector, our finance director, and I have received an invitation to a meeting next week on Thursday, December 11th, to learn more about what that may look like and express concerns. So I'll keep you updated as we learn more on that front, but that's been something that a lot of questions have been stirring around, and we don't have a lot of guidance yet, so that'll be the start of a discussion in that space. That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
I have a couple requests. Mr. Dunning, could you, there's a city boards and commissions appreciation celebration
yes.
on Thursday.
Yes, we
Could
do.
you get an email to the council on that? I don't know that anything has gone out.
Absolutely, I can. Yes, recognizing boards and commissions, I'll just mention it. It's at 5:30 at Green Street, but we'll get an invitation out to that.
Okay.
To all of you.
And then in January 22nd, I think, the MML, which is the Missouri Municipal League, we go to the conference often, every year. Our region we're hosting it at Green Street. So if we could get that on everybody's calendar, because it's a month and a half away, but just to see if everybody can hold it. It's a meeting. I know we're not as active, but when it's on your home turf, we kind of need to show up. Yep. And I will be out of town that day.
Okay.
So, yeah. Well, hey, you're going to be on trial, gone every other week.
Hey, that's hard work.
Probably in some Caribbean island is where you go to work. Oh, gosh, we have to read into closed session, and you're Councilmember Shields tonight, so Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read us into the closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to, let me make sure I'm on the right one. Yeah. Pursuant to Section 610.0211 of the revised statutes of the state of Missouri pertaining to legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communication between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys, and pursuant to Section 610.0219 of the revised statutes of the state of Missouri pertaining to preparation, including any discussions or work product on behalf of a public governmental body or its representatives for negotiations with employee groups, I hereby move for closed session.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to closed session by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion. Seeing none, please, can I get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell.
Aye.
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Funk.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Everybody have a good night.